Genesis 5. This is the list of the descendants of Adam. When God created human beings, He made them like Himself. He created them male and female, blessed them and named them humanity. When Adam was 130 years old, he had a son who was like him, and he named him Seth. After that, Adam lived another 800 years. He had other children and died at the age of 930. When Seth was 105, he had a son, Enosh, and then he lived another 807 years. He had other children and died at the age of 912. When Enosh was 90, he had a son, Kenan, and then lived another 815 years. He had other children and died at the age of 905. When Kenan was 70, he had a son, Mahalalel, and then lived another 840 years. He had other children and died at the age of 910. When Mahalalel was 65, he had a son, Jared, and then lived another 830 years. He had other children and died at the age of 895. When Jared was 162, he had a son, Enoch, and then lived another 800 years. He had other children and died at the age of 962. When Enoch was 65, he had a son, Methuselah. In that, Enoch lived in fellowship with God for 300 years and had other children. He lived to be 365 years old. He spent his life in fellowship with God, and then he disappeared because God took him away. When Methuselah was 187, he had a son, Lamech, then lived another 782 years. He had other children and died at the age of 969. When Lamech was 182, he had a son and said, "From the very ground on which the Lord put a curse, this child will bring us relief from all our hard work." So he named him Noah. Lamech lived another 595 years. He had other children and died at the age of 777. After Noah was 500 years old, he had other three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Chapter 6. When the human race had spread all over the world, and daughters were being born, some of the heavenly beings saw that these young women were beautiful. So they took the ones they liked. Then the Lord said, "I will not allow people to live forever. They are mortal. From now on they will live longer than 120 years." In those days, and even later, there were giants on the earth who were descendants of human women and the heavenly beings. They were the great heroes and famous men of long ago. And the Lord saw how wicked everyone on earth was, and how evil their thoughts were all the time. He was sorry that he had ever made them and put them on the earth. He was so filled with regret that he said, "I will wipe out these people I have created, and also the animals and the birds, because I am sorry that I made any of them." But the Lord was pleased with Noah. This is the story of Noah. He had three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Noah had no faults and was the only good man of his time. He lived in fellowship with God, but everyone else was evil in God's sight, and violence had spread everywhere. God looked at the world and saw that it was evil, for the people were all living evil lives. God said to Noah, "I have decided to put an end to the whole human race. I will destroy them completely, because the world is full of their violent deeds. Build a, build a boat for yourself out of good timber. Make rooms in it and cover it with tar inside and out. Make it 133 meters long, 22 meters wide, and 13 meters high. Make a roof for the boat and leave a space of 44 centimeters between the roof and the sides. Build it to 3 decks and put a door in the side. I'm going to send a flood on the earth to destroy every living being. Everything on the earth will die, but I'll make a covenant with you. Go into the boat with your wife, your sons, and their wives. Take into the boat with you a male and a female of every kind of animal and of every kind of bird, in order to keep them alive. Take along all kinds of food for you and for them. Noah did everything that God commanded. Chapter 7. The Lord said to Noah, Go into the boat with your whole family. I have found that you are the only one in all the world who does what is right. Take with you 7 pairs of each kind of ritually clean animal, but only 1 pair of each kind of unclean animal. Take also 7 pairs of each kind of bird. Do this so that every kind of animal and bird will be kept alive to reproduce again on the earth. 7 days from now I am going to send rain that will fall for 40 days and nights, in order to destroy all the living beings that I have made. And Noah did everything that the Lord commanded. Noah was 600 years old when the flood came on the earth. He and his wife and his sons and their wives went into the boat to escape the flood. A male and a female of every kind of animal and bird, whether ritually clean or unclean, went into the boat with Noah as God had commanded. 7 days later the flood came. When Noah was 600 years old, on the 17th day of the second month, all the outlets of the vast body of water beneath the earth burst open. All the floodgates of the sky were opened, and rain fell on the earth for 40 days and nights. On the same day, Noah and his wife went into the boat with their 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives. With them went every kind of animals, domestic and wild, large and small, and every kind of bird. A male and a female of each kind of living being went into the boat with Noah, as God had commanded. Then the Lord shut the door behind Noah. The flood continued for 40 days, and the water became deep enough for the boat to float. The water became deeper and the boat drifted on the surface. It became so deep that it covered the highest mountains. It went on rising until it was about 7 meters above the tops of the mountain. Every living being on the earth died. Every bird, every animal, and every person, everything on earth that breathed died. The Lord destroyed all living beings on the earth, human beings, animals, and birds. The only ones left were Noah and those who were with him in the boat. The water did not start going down for 150 days. Chapter 8. God had not forgotten Noah and all the animals with him in the boat. He caused a wind to blow and the water started going down. The outlets of the water beneath the earth and the floodgates of the sky were closed. The rain stopped and the water gradually went down for 150 days. On the 17th day of the 7th month, the boat came to rest on a mountain in the Ararat range. The water kept going down, and on the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains appeared. After 40 days, Noah opened a window and sent out a raven. It did not come back, but kept flying around until the water was completely gone. Meanwhile, Noah sent out a dove to see if the water had gone down, but since the water still covered all the land, the dove did not find a place to alight. It flew back to the boat, and Noah reached out and took it in. He waited another 7 days and sent out the dove again. It returned to him in the evening with a fresh olive leaf in its beak. So Noah knew that the water had gone down. Then he waited another 7 days and sent out the dove once more. This time it did not come back. When Noah was 601 years old, on the first day of the first month, the water was gone. Noah removed the covering of the boat, looked round, and saw that the ground was getting dry. By the 27th day of the second month, the earth was completely dry. God said to Noah, "Go out of the boat with your wife, your sons, and their wives. Take all the birds and animals out with you, so that they may reproduce and spread over all the earth." So Noah went out of the boat with his wife, his sons, and their wives. All the animals and birds went out of the boat in groups of their own kind. Noah built an altar to the Lord. He took one of each kind of ritually clean animal and bird and burnt them all as a sacrifice on the altar. The order of the sacrifice pleased the Lord, and he said to himself, "Never again will I put the earth under curse because of what people do. I know that from the time they are young, their thoughts are evil. Never again will I destroy all living beings, as I have done this time. As long as the world exists, there will be a time for planting and a time for harvest. There will always be cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night."